Well, the thing that's great about Parature software is that, first of all, they've become a premier customer relationship management system for a lot of people. One of the things I find interesting is that I'm a public speaker. I work with a lot of customer support operations around the country, teaching them how to communicate in difficult customer situations. The vast majority of clients I work with use Parature software, and I find that very impressive. I think it's great because one of the things is that this talk this morning had some assembly required. I had the audience participate in sharing some of their ideas as to how they would handle those situations so that we could reflect that against the techniques we taught. And when you have a very talented, very engaged group of people, we had a very productive dialogue about things, because even the smartest people aren't always up on the very latest techniques in terms of what psychology has to say about how people react to us. So it was a lot of fun for me. Well, where I come into this is that I spent much of my career being the boss that calls get escalated to when people say, let me talk to your boss. And what's great about Parature is that because you have a transaction record of what's been going on in the life cycle of the transaction, first of all, you have visibility as to what's been happening with the customer, which gives you knowledge as you come into that situation, and you're not just hearing one side of the story, and so you have that as background. Second, it's an important coaching tool for people, because first of all, I had a very participatory management style where things would escalate to me. The customers wouldn't always know it, but often there'd be people on my team sitting around the speakerphone watching me handle those customer situations that I'd use as a learning moment. And not only was I teaching them the techniques, I'd be transferring confidence to them, because they knew I was walking into the situation, not knowing what might happen, but knowing what I would say and knowing what I would do. When you record those things in your Parature system, then that transmits that knowledge as part of the institutional knowledge for the whole organization. And the great thing about Parature specifically is because they have the software as a service model, it's been easy for a lot of people to implement that and distribute it across distributed organizations. Great. You've hit on the most crucial aspect of changing your service performance, because you can't train skills. If you have people sit through a 3-hour training course, no matter how good it is, even if it's one of my training courses, people will go back to their desks and the vast majority of them will revert to what they've been saying for the last 20 years. So it's when you pop into your cubicles and start role-playing scenarios with people that those skills start to take with people. That's a process of weeks. The other thing that's critically important about that is I have always used a strength-based coaching process. It's not part of your performance evaluation. I don't go in and say people have done things wrong. Even when they've, for example, lost their cool with a customer, for example, we troubleshoot that in terms of I can see you're frustrated, I can see why you said that, and how can we learn from that from here. I actually just wrote a book called How to Tell Anyone Anything that comes out this summer, which focuses on how to have painless coaching discussions with people, even when they do really bad things. And that, to me, was the key of changing our service performance to near perfect. Parature does two really important things for you in a situation like that. First of all, is that everybody has visibility about everybody, so everyone sees how the best agents in your team and how your managers are handling those, because the goal you want is for everyone to have the same skills, and eventually everyone does have the same skills if you have a coaching philosophy. The other thing that's great about Parature is that this also gives everyone visibility as to how the rest of the team is doing, and people work as a team to jump in where they have their strengths. Well, those are two interesting directions. For my own area personally, my focus is always on the mechanics of what to say in difficult situations. That's what I've been training about for 11 years at this point, and I've spoken to about 10,000 people at this point teaching those things. A lot of that is based on very recent trends in behavioral psychology, and what really amazes me is that given that humans have been communicating with each other for 10,000 years, it's only been in the last 10 or 15 years that we've really looked seriously at the mechanics of how people react to the language that you use. And so there have been some great books coming out there, Crucial Conversations and others, that break down the mechanics of what you do in those situations so that you change the outcome. Now, how that ties in with Parature is that becomes institutional knowledge, and tools like Parature become a tool not just for tracking metrics, not just for logging case statuses, but as a means of preserving institutional knowledge like that, so that when people have a culture and a sense of how we sound and who we are, that gets carried forward through everybody who works with you. We had a customer who was calling, who'd never been trained to use our software product, and demanded that we fly somebody to New York the next day to fix it, even though it was her fault. And so I modeled that call in front of my agents, and I knew exactly what I was going to say, and it worked really well, which is I acknowledged her frustrations, I respected her agenda, and I talked about what was possible that we could do to benefit her from within our range of possible actions while continuing to acknowledge her. We left that call as friends, and we left helping her on the phone and having her talk to our salespeople about a training intervention without ever saying no, without ever making her feel stupid. But I want to bring up an even more important point, which is that one day my vice president, when I was managing this call center, poked his head in and said, "Rich, you're good at communication skills. We have a customer who wants to sue us. Would you like to talk to him?" And I said, "Sure." And the thing is, because I knew the process that I would use in those situations, which is obviously validating the very deep frustration this person had, gathering information, looking at what we could do to benefit situations. I knew we had a good chance of getting through that situation, and we did. We solved his issue, we kept him as a customer, and we made everybody happy. And that's really the goal of where the skills should lead you.